Hi stamping friends. For this fun fold card, we are going to be able to make 2 cards with the designated materials. We need to determine which color of cardstock will be our coordinating cardstock color. And for the 2 pieces of designer series paper I'm working with, that color will be Night of Navy. The card base I'm going to use for this card will be the Mossy Meadow, or for that designer series paper, and for this one it will be the Early Espresso, and this is the one I'm going to assemble in the video. So what I'm going to do is start out with scoring the card base. The card base cardstock is 8.5 by 5.5, and I'm going to use the Simply Scoring tool to score that, and it needs to be scored at 2 inches, at 3 1/8, at 5 3/8, and at 6 1/2. So I'm going to move the Simply Scoring tool out of the way, and then I'm going to grab the paper trimmer to trim the other pieces. For the designer series paper, we have a 4 by 6 piece, and we need 2 that are 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. So I'm going to cut the 5 1/4 first, and I'm going to cut it off the top end of this designer series paper. So I'm going to put this in my paper trimmer at 5 1/4 and cut off that top portion of the paper, and then I'm going to cut it into the 1 3/4 inch strips. So I'm going to cut that one first, and then I will cut this one. Whoops, slipped, so I want to make sure it gets cut straight. And there we go. So we have our designer series paper cut. Our coordinating cardstock, we need 2 of them that are 1 7/8 by 5 3/8. So I am going to, I'm actually going to cut the 5 3/8 first, and just a little sliver off the bottom or the edge, and then I want to cut 2 of them that are 1 7/8. So we got 1 and we got 2. The other portion of this would be for card number 2, which I will show you a finished sample at the end of this assembly, and you can see that. And let's see, what else do I need? I need basic white, that is 2 by 5 1/4 for the inside sentiment, and then optional is 1 for the center panel. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece at 5 1/4 first, because I would be using those for both cards, and I can get all 4 of those pieces out of this 8.5 by 5.5 piece of paper. So if you cut that piece first, then you've got that dimension cut for all of them. And as I mentioned, this would be the same 2 pieces cut, and this would be the same 2 as this for card number 2. But we are only going to work on 1 card. And as I mentioned in previous videos, if I am going too fast, just hit the pause button. And then our other piece of basic white will be for our decorative images. So I'm going to just set that aside and then bring that card base back in here. So for this card, I am going to do a few things before I assemble pieces. So this one piece was an optional for the center panel. So this is going to be a center panel decorative, and I actually want to run this through a 3D folder, and I'm going to use the timber folder. So I would place this in between the folder, run it through my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and it will come out texturized like that. So this piece is where we would stamp our inside sentiment. These designer series papers are going to be layered onto the Night of Navy pieces. But before I do that, I am going to take advantage of that piece, one of those pieces being hidden, and take the dual oval punch. And you do need to be careful with this punch, because at the same time you're going to punch out the oval scalp and the regular oval. So when I put this in, I'm going to be cautious that I am not going too far in and punch this out. The overlay on this designer series paper is a 1/16 of an inch, so it will not even be visible that I punched that out. So I'm going to take advantage of that. And then I'm going to adhere these designer series papers to the Night of Navy cardstock. And so you put your adhesive on, watch for opposite corners to get even spacing. There's only about a 1/16 of an inch spacing here. And go ahead and assemble this piece. And watch opposite corners so I can see equal spacing on top and bottom and both sides. And there we go. So now we're to the card base. I'm going to grab my bone folder. For this card, the first score line, and if you, just so you know, it's symmetrical on this side and this side, so it doesn't matter. But the first fold is going to be a valley fold, which is a fold like this. The next fold is going to be a mountain fold. So you've got valley, mountain, and then you're going to have a mountain fold, and then a valley fold. This is going to be a standing fun fold card. So it will stand on the desk or the table. And we're going to decorate these two sides with this decorative designer series paper. So you're going to apply adhesive on the back of both of these. And let's see, get my little dispenser working again. And so I'm going to put this piece right here. I'm just going to watch for equal spacing on top and bottom and side and let this edge fall into place. I'm going to put adhesive on the back of this and look for equal spacing on the three sides, and that fourth side will fall into place. I mentioned this is for your inside sentiment, which actually is going to be on the back of the card. So you would stamp and your inside sentiment here and sign the card, and that will be visible from behind. So I'm going to put adhesive on here, and that would be applied like so. And the other piece of basic white here is mentioned to be optional because there might be a different way you want to decorate this, and I'll show some samples, but you have enough material that you could put the basic white on, and that's what I'm going to do for this card. With the Timber 3D folder, it is actually both sides, could be the front. You just need to decide personally which side you want to be the front and which is the back, and you're not going to go wrong with either one. I love this for a subtle added design. So now I'm going to center that. And for the decorative image, which is from your basic white, because we've used all the other color cardstock pieces, I've done all my stamping ahead of time. We're going to use that punch, and I've stamped the tree and cut these out with the dies, and they are part of the Beauty of Friendship bundle. So what I'm going to do is attach the tree top to the branches, and you can decorate yours with any tree stamp. Let me look at it this way, that would be better. So I have those two attached like this, and now I want to use dimensionals to attach the rest of this to my project. And I'm going to give you a tip on how, or a suggestion. There's many ways of doing this, but for the trunk right here, what I do is I take, oops, got a little piece of adhesive and cardstock on there. I take and I just trim along the edge here to get a small strip, and I put that on the back of the by the tree trunk here, and then you can add your dimensional, or your image can be popped up with dimensionals. So any of your tree stamps would work, and I'm going to show you a variety of samples as soon as I get this assembled. So I'm going to place this right here, and then I have the sentiment stamped. I'm going to layer that on that piece, and this is going to actually hang over the edge a little bit. I'm going to give you a tip on how to assemble, because we don't want any adhesive on the back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and say I want to have this assembled adhered right here. So I'm going to put a dimensional on this end so it's within just the center panel, and I'm going to put that second dimensional right here. Typically I'd put it right here, but it might run into this tree base, so I'm just going to put them here and then place my sentiment down, and that's how I have my card assembled. So I hope you enjoyed this fun fold. The other card that with the designer series paper I have assembled like this. Here's a couple other designer series papers in that same designer series paper pack, and here are two additionals. And as you can see, most of them I use the Beauty of the Earth stamp set, but this one I did use Lovely as a Tree. I hope you enjoyed this fun fold. Happy creating!